and blessings, family. Welcome in, welcome in. If you can hear me, let me just go ahead and do a sound check and make sure that we have some sound. If you can give me a one to make sure that I am on task and not talking to myself, I would really, really appreciate that. If you can give me a one. If you can hear me. Yay! Thank you so much, Sister Princess. Peace and blessings. Welcome in, family. I am your host, Shar, here with He Say, She Say Family Coach Live. Love for Love is the most special place in the legal system in Atlanta where we are supporting families before they are engaging with the legal system to build stronger, more purposeful families so that we can have a more purposeful and a stronger community together because we need each other. So this week is a continuation of last week where we talked about the 5 steps for building heart muscles. Yes, targeting the brothers for this message. I do take turns. Sometimes I'm going in on the ladies. Sometimes I'm going in on the men. Why? Because I'm sharing with you things that I hear as a family law attorney when people are done, when people are tired of hurting in their marriage and they can't figure out how to fix it. Well, now you get the benefit of hearing what people are saying so that you can prevent the heartache and the pain and the destruction, or what I call a corporate failure of your marriage, by learning from other people's process. So we're going to go ahead and just dive right in with a quick review. Last week, step 1 was to identify the lie and break it. You will hear me over and over again in these spaces because I'm a contract attorney. I am always going to be talking about contracts. I am always going to be pointing out agreements that you have, and we're going to dive into that a little deeper in a few. But you want to identify the lie because the lie is actually a contract, and I'm going to show you exactly how. And then step 2, you want to embrace the truth. Why? Because Yahusha teaches us in the word, the Bible, that it is the truth that makes you free. And so the thing that you want to be free from is the lie. So we talked about the first 2 steps last week. And again, going to the scriptures, Matthew 18:18 is where Yahusha taught, "Verily I say unto you, whatsoever thing you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thing you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." And what's super duper important about this family is that it's contract language. This is the language of contract that the Messiah was speaking in when he was talking about the power that we as the followers of his way have with respect to the unseen world. So how does it work? It is the thing that you agree with, your earth, right? Your decisions. Decision is the point where action, the evidence of the thing that was happening in the unseen realm, your thought, your subconscious world, that is the spirit. The place that you cannot see is always offering you a proposal to enter into an agreement. So at the point that you make a decision, there is now a contract between your choice in earth and all of the evidence that is going to flow from your choice and the unseen realm of your subconscious thought, your mind, the spirit realm. This is what he was saying. So in other words, every choice you make is an agreement or a contract with a belief. So in order to change your choices and the results that flow from your beliefs, you first have to go and break agreement with beliefs that are not serving you. This is why so many people who struggle with certain kind of habits and behaviors, they kind of know that it's harming them, but they can't figure out how to break the cycle. Well, it's because the root is the unseen, the unconscious realm, the belief system. And there's going to be a lie that you can uncover there that is going to free up your decision in order to make an agreement, a new agreement, or bind yourself to truth. And when we bind ourselves to truth, when we enter into a contract with truth, that is when freedom comes. That is when the life more abundantly that we're taught to have, it comes when we bind ourselves to truth. So I'm always going to talk about contract when I'm talking in this space. Because to agree with a lie, again, in the space of talking about men's heart health, emotional health, is to agree with emotional suppression, to agree with emotional escape, emotional outbursts, and emotional disconnect. And there's more to this, y'all, because like even with the agreement to, the lie, this is why domestic violence is taking place. There's some type of root there that is manifesting itself in the act of violence against someone who's close to you, because there's a belief in a lie. And whenever we believe a lie, there is strife inside of us. And in order to reach peace, we agree with the truth. And anytime we agree with the truth, peace then enters in. And when I am in peace with myself, then I will bring peace into the relationship. And so that's kind of like how it's all connected. And brothers, this is what wives are trying to get away from. Like when a wife is reaching out to a family law attorney and she's trying to talk about her options, like most of the wives are trying to get away from the emotional disconnect, the emotional disruption, the emotional, like not being emotional at all. Like this is what wives are complaining about. And so I'm giving you a sneak preview into somebody else's pain so that you can carefully consider whether or not you're operating in any type of lie with respect to your emotional health, your heart health, and the strength of your connection with your own emotions. So, okay. So another thing that I observe, and I want you to know, is that, here we work with husbands and wives, and almost 100% across the board, I'll say 99% of husbands that we work with in this space, they do not want a divorce. But they almost always are strongly opposed to like getting some help. They want to keep their marriage. They really don't know how, but then they're like, I don't need nobody telling me. I don't need nobody telling me. This is like a broken record that we're hearing from wives about their husbands. I don't need nobody telling me. We already know what to do. Why we got to go get somebody else to tell it? This is problematic. Because when the person who's closest to you, as crazy as she may be, as off her rocker as she may be, as aggravating as she may be, as much as she might have her own stuff that she needs to be working through, if this woman loves you and she has bound her life to you, and she's coming to you and she's telling you, hey, we need some help, that is like a telltale sign that reaching out or receiving help outside of your own resource, outside of your own isolation, outside of your own head might be necessary. Because when men are not accepting help, seeking help, pursuing help, your wife is left feeling unprotected by you. She's left feeling unsafe, and she's left feeling insecure in the relationship. When they know you have some unresolved emotional stuff, they see it and they hurt for you. And again, most of the time when I'm speaking about wives in this space, I'm not speaking about, wives who have it in for their husband. I'm talking about wives who really want to see their husbands in the fullness of their potential and walking in the authentic authority that you have in your God-given right and space to be fully present. They want you to get there. So when you're not getting the help and you're not reaching out, they don't know what to do. And that insecurity and feeling unsafe, that's the last thing I know any husband wants for his wife. I've never met a husband who doesn't want his wife to feel safe. I've never met a husband who doesn't want his wife to feel secure in the relationship. But this is what is happening when the wife is reaching out saying to you, hey, we need to do some work in the emotional space. And you say, I don't need nobody. I don't need nobody. So if you're getting some clues from your wife, you don't really know exactly what to do or how to do it to connect with her, wouldn't it make sense for you, when you have 100% power over the situation, to take action like right now? Take action today rather than just doing nothing, because doing nothing will have a default evidence, a default will take place as a result of doing nothing. All things remaining the same. It's going to happen. What's going to happen is that the law of entropy is going to impact your marriage in the area of your emotional connection. The law of entropy, or the law of neglect and intention, states that a marriage that is neglected will fall into disorder and ultimately into destruction unless it is met by energy or intention that disrupts the chaos. So this is a law of thermodynamics, the law of entropy. And for us to do nothing when things are already broken and expect for them to change, it's literally like madness, because by operation of the law, there will be a decline into disorder, chaos, and then ultimately disruption. I see one of the brothers have a comment. Some men don't realize when a woman is reaching out that way is because they love you. Men see it as nagging. Once a woman stops reaching out, she's done. Can the church say amen? Can the church say amen? Brother Fastniggle, thank you for bringing that insight as one of our brothers. Like, when your woman drops the mic, sir, because there's nothing else that she's going to say, because there's no way that you're listening to her, you're not giving her the feedback, and you're not taking the action or the leadership that she's needing from you. And I know that, some men will be like, well, she don't want me to lead. I'm not going to deny a lot of the upside down flip culture that we have going on as Black men and Black women. And I will hope that by now you know and trust and believe that I will go in on our sisters when it comes to us getting ourselves in order under your covering. But right now we're talking about you. And when your woman is signaling to you that something needs to change, you don't really know exactly how to change. If you do nothing, then the law of entropy will result, and the default is what happens. Therefore, you cannot be intentional about healing your marriage. And I will say this goes to men and women equally. Too many of us, we want to fix the marriage, fix the marriage, fix the marriage. The marriage is not like something that automatically makes you better and automatically makes your spouse better. No. You have to become intentional about your healing as the individual in your marriage. And that intentionality begins with you, and then it impacts the marriage. So the marriage is waiting for you to build some muscle in this space. It's waiting for you to exercise intention. So let's go ahead and talk about the next step for building your heart muscle. Step 3, enhance your male community. Embrace your male community. So I want to say this. I've been telling people this for years now, that practicing divorce and having, a very heavy caseload in the area of divorce, it is like being a funeral director. And I'm not even trying to be funny when I say that. When a marriage comes to me dead on arrival, one of the first things that I'm asking this family, I'm like, is there any way, if you had the right support, if you had the right strategy, if we can raise the dead, would you be willing to try? By the time they're reaching out to a lawyer, there is a death of a marriage. It is literally dead. And my work is like a funeral director. And I handle these cases the same way that I would want a person who does funerals to handle my loved one, with like some care, because it's so many emotions all over the place when a marriage has died. And so that's why I was so impacted by the insights from the book Top 5 regrets of the dying. The author is Bonnie Ware. And I've mentioned this before. And look, I'm not going to leave this one alone, y'all, because look at these top 5 regrets. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the lives others expected of me. I wish I didn't work so hard. This is what people are saying. Like, the lady who wrote this book was a palliative care nurse who took care of people in hospice care. And she began to talk to them about the things that they regretted from how they would live their life differently. And she put these things in the book. And these people are telling her, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. And going here to step number 4, when I'm talking about the next step of building your heart muscle, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Number 5 was, I wish that I had let myself be happier. Now, most of these don't point to emotion. I don't know what. Is it just me? Am I the only one that's seeing an emotional pattern here and people coming into the end of life and having regrets? So I highlighted step number 4 because 100% of dying men regretted not spending more time with their friends. And this is such a powerful insight. You will hear me talk about this over and over and over again, because when I am interfacing with families in divorce and in crisis, almost 100% of the time, that man does not have community. That man's best friend is the TV. So there's also a common complaint as well about the cost of therapy. I actually should have put this before this section here, but a lot of men complain about the cost of therapy. And no, this goes here. Connecting with your community is not expensive, right? So even if you're not in a therapeutic relationship, even if you're not in marriage counseling, it don't cost you much. It's making a plan and catching up with a few of your brothers and connecting and intentionally doing life together. So the excuse about the cost of therapy or the cost of getting some help, that goes away when it comes to what it takes for you to connect in male community. And I'm restraining myself by saying I'm not going to go through a tangent here, but connecting with male community is not expensive. You might say therapy is expensive, but the cost of doing nothing has damaging impacts. Not just the money part, not just the money, even more than the money, the time you invested in a relationship, the pain of that relationship dying, oftentimes dying a slow death, and you're sitting there feeling helpless, what to do to fix it. The cost of doing nothing is greater than the investment in your heart health. So step 4, build your vocabulary. And what I will be doing, I will be putting in the link of this video, just some words, y'all. I've been working with this even at home with my 12-year-old, where I ask him, hey, how did that make you feel? And his default word is interesting. And I'm having to teach him, was it a good interesting? Was it a bad interesting? Let's find some other words for you to express yourself verbally, because women are moved by words. Oh, what you say? You a fan for yourself? No, hold on. What we got going on in the chat, y'all? Because I saw. I don't know what y'all got going on, but I'm just gonna laugh because laughter is medicine. So So, what? Money don't fix anything. Money don't fix anything, but investing with money into the things that can fix things is what gets things fixed. I'm just asking for a friend. So wives are strongly, deeply, eternally impacted by your words, brothers. Like we want to hear what you got to say. Like I want you to think about the most annoying moments in your marriage where you like she asking you what you thinking about, and you like nothing. And she's like coming at you. She want to know what you're thinking. She's thirsting for words. And that's why I pulled out Ephesians 5:25-26, where husbands were instructed to love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify it and cleanse it with the washing of the water by the word. So, brothers, we need your words, and not you preaching at us only. Like the only time you talk is when you're gonna preach, or when you gonna hit a sister with that scripture that say husbands. What's the brother's favorite scriptures? Wives also be submissive to your husbands. Like, look, we got it. Note taking it, and look, remind us as often as we need to be reminded. But the washing of the word is the word of truth. The scriptures are the word of truth. And even sharing what you got going on inside of you is a part of being truthful and connecting with your wife with your words. So it's more than just preaching out of a scripture. It's sharing with your words. And so building your emotional vocabulary, this is a great opportunity, and it's free. Brother Watch should like that one. It's free to build your emotional vocabulary. In fact, after I close out the broadcast tonight, I will make sure that I put my little emotional, because I have like a little emotional index of words to reach for, so that you can start practicing, really making sense of what you got going on, so that you're not walking around like my little guy over here talk about he feel interesting. Now let's expand the vocabulary here. So that's step number 4. And finally, step number 5, identify and break escape mechanisms. Again, we are talking about contracts here. And there's all different kinds. Like, this is not an exhaustive list, but this is what happens in marriages. This is what people are living with. This is how people are numbing themselves for the pain of not knowing how to move forward. This is how people are just settling into the law of entropy, and just whatever gonna happen. They're self-medicating by what you take inside of your body, whether it be drugs, alcohol, or food. They're self-soothing, those things that are external. So whether there's obsessive phone use, or self-pampering, or if there's sex addiction that's taking place here, this is a self-soothing issue. And I'm not coming for the brothers when it comes to, you should have access to your wife. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there are marriages that are being harmed where there is an unhealthy appetite or a mismatch in whatever y'all got going on in the bedroom. And we'll dive into that in a whole separate conversation. But there is such a thing as sex addiction. A lot of it is rooted in pornography and different distortions that have happened in the mind and in the belief system with reference to sex. And sex is super easy to access, whether you're alone or whether you got a partner. And this is an opportunity to examine whether or not there is an issue here with an escape contract. Isolation is a form of escape. If you just avoid everybody, you don't have to deal with nobody, and you're not really investing in the marriage or helping the marriage get better. And so again, the law of entropy is in operation there. There is addiction to overworking, remaining overly preoccupied. And there's even, the escape of overcommitting socially. You have some people that isolate on one end, and you have other people that's always got to be in the mix, always got to be out and about and in somebody's face. But whatever the behavior may be, where you kind of default to kind of find your happy place, examine whether or not this is actually an escape contract, whether or not you're reaching for this thing that comforts you is excessive, whether or not this thing could be hurting your marriage and your connection with your wife, whether this thing is getting in the way of you fully enjoying the peace and harmony that your wife wants. That is a contract, and you have the opportunity to break it by having an honest conversation about whether or not you're doing too much. I'm a huge fan of cognitive behavioral therapy. I think licensed therapy is strongly recommended. And, I know because, I've heard from other men that this is a challenging space if they're not able to receive care or therapy from somebody who looks like them, who sounds like them, who comes from the same, cultural experience. And look, the licensed therapeutic space it's not inundated with Black men. So there's one barrier there to begin with. But to the extent possible that you can seek out someone who is a licensed therapist and who at a minimum would have a shared cultural paradigm, that would be very, very, that'd be a great step in the direction of kind of finding some safety in talking through what you got going on in your emotions. I literally just got a phone call today from someone who went through divorce, expecting divorce to kind of like fix stuff, but now asking for pastoral care and counseling because stuff is still coming up. Y'all divorced now, but stuff is still coming up. Why? Because there's some contracts here that we have to deal with, and you're gonna have to deal with that. So for me, I approach it from a pastoral standpoint, but I love the licensed therapeutic space and people who are operating in this space doing amazing work for our community. So shout out to my licensed clinical social workers and therapists and counselors out there. And I share this in the story about my own personal deliverance and healing that I wrote about, was that last year? This is what I consider the dream team. You have a licensed therapist who can deal with some therapeutic things, possibly some, other mental illness considerations or mental health considerations that may need therapeutic or even medical attention. But then also a family coach is a great addition to supporting the family as a part of the dream team, I call it. And then that men's fellowship. Men's fellowship, again, I believe is the most easily accessible if you live anywhere where there are other men. If there's not a men's group, maybe you might be the one to start, having a men's breakfast on Saturday and just kind of find a way to invite some folk, 1 or 2 folk, and just do it regularly once a month. And shout out to, the brothers. I've had a couple of brothers reach out and that I've worked with who, one brother, he started a men's group. He's navigating marriage and parenting and decided, what? I'll be the one to create the space for other brothers to come to so we can connect with each other and we could talk about marriage and being dads. And he's doing amazing work just by creating that space for other men. But if you're, in a larger metropolitan area, like here in Atlanta, there's even a men's group that they got a podcast going on. So if you can't physically get to a men's group, hey, you know what? I'm gonna drop that in the description box as well. The podcast to hear just what other men are saying in those spaces for men. Like a brother shared it with me because he's been finding so much strength and so much courage just from connecting with other men who are just talking openly about life. And although he shared the podcast with me, I'm not sitting there spying on what the brothers got going on. But you know what? I do share it as a resource whenever I'm working with a husband who I recognize does not have male community. And you're not alone, brothers. You do not have to learn these things the hard way, which is a divorce or having to remarry. Like these lessons you can learn now, like in mid stride, if this is a challenge that has presented itself in your marriage. Because I believe that regret is a strong motivator, but it's not really necessary if you could have that foresight into what the ultimate outcome will be if your wife is feeling disconnected. Because even if you don't divorce in terms of, an actual legal court process, I don't know that you got married with the expectation that you were going to live in your corner of the house and she was going to live in her corner of the house, and y'all never had any kind of connection. I've never met a person who anticipated that that's what their future was going to look like when they put a ring on it. Law for Love is here in the family coaching space. So I'm just doing, just letting you know that this is a space where I am helping people have these conversations and get some understanding to convert conflict into healing, because pain is like compost. It's spiritual compost. We put a lot of effort and energy into escaping painful situations, not dealing with painful situations or avoiding painful situations, when what we really need to do is lean into the pain, because that pain, it has a wisdom in it that will unlock healing if we are willing to be honest about what that pain is confronting in us. There's a proverb where King Solomon wrote that fools are in the house of happiness all the time, and the wise are in the house of mourning. It's really like, if you did a word search on this verse, is house of mirth. The foolish are always trying to feel good and make themselves feel good and seek pleasure. But there is a wisdom in leaning into pain, and that's what we do here at Law for Love, because I've learned that leaning into the pain, that's where that compost smells, right? It's a horrible smelling stuff, but man, you put that thing in a garden and it is liquid gold. And that's what we do here. We convert that conflict and that pain into healing. And I'm always big on counting the cost. There's too many marriages not getting the help that they need. You don't want to deal with the embarrassment. You don't want to admit that you need help. You don't want to pay for a professional. That's a lot of money. And then the cost of like the ultimate destruction, law of entropy, law of neglect. It's unreal, y'all. Separation and just waiting to watch this thing die. You ever sit and watch somebody who is like on life support actually dying, like the life leaving their body? This is what's happening when a marriage is not being intentional about working on emotional connection. So on behalf of all of the divorced families, I am speaking to you, brothers, from their heartbreak, the men who have experienced regret for not doing something differently before their wives gave up, before that exhaustion kicked in and homegirl threw in the towel. And I'm sharing with you on behalf of all of the men who were not confronted with these painful yet powerful insights that we're sharing with you right now at He Say, She Say. When I'm working with them in the background, they wish they had some of these insights. And you are in the most powerful position to take these insights and work them and work your marriage and have your best, most emotionally connected marriage with your sweetheart. And I am a witness on behalf of men who were too proud to admit that they were struggling, that there was something wrong, that there was something off, that they didn't completely understand. And have to deal with the walk of shame of admitting, dang, I failed. I actually had one brother say, it was so powerful how the brother said it. He said, man, I failed. And I invite you to connect with us to build a strategy where you and your sweetheart can do some work to make this thing as sweet as you both want it to be. Because your woman with you because she crazy about you. So y'all, all the YouTube stuff, right? Like, comment, share, subscribe. This helps us do more great work in the community. This helps us to reach more families. This helps us to make more impact. This helps us steer families away from the destruction of divorce when it's 100% avoidable in most situations. And I am so thankful from the bottom of my heart, because the work that you are helping us to do is helping us to put families in a position to win, because once a family has to go through court, there are no winners. I don't care who you show me tell you that they won their case in court. That is a lie. When your family is destroyed and completed with a piece of paper signed off by a judge, that was a fail for the entire family. No winners. And so we want to continue to make a difference. That's why we're now working on the other side of divorce to do some divorce prevention, teaching these things from the standpoint, from the seat of a family lawyer. Hey, look, this is what I see. This is what you can do about it. This is how you can avoid it. What are they calling in medicine? Preventative care. This is preventative care from someone who's seen these patterns and love you enough to tell you the truth about it. So with that, hold on. What am I doing here? Y'all know I'm extra special sometimes. Thank you again for all of your love and support. I'm not sure if there is, we got married folks cutting up in the chat today. What y'all got going on? Did Fast Nickel start again? Hey, I love you, married folks. And by the way, I'm loving what I'm hearing about the exploration of the 16 personality results. This is such a powerful conversation starter and way to kind of like get a little insight into each other and a little more understanding. It's fun. These are very, very fun conversations. So that's one more promise I'll do. I'll leave the 16 personality assessment in the comment section. And if you and your sweetheart are willing to sit down and do the test and have a conversation about it, I am hearing that it is bringing a lot of value into the marriages. So with that, I love you and appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of the Law for Love movement and helping us to do more for our community. I look forward to talking to you next week. I'm getting on the ladies to get out of your spaghetti and into his box. So we're going to be getting on the ladies next week about how to communicate with your man without driving him crazy. With that, I love y'all and have a wonderful night.